Hey guys, it's Corinne from It's So Corinne, and today we are going to crochet this super cute bear Lovey. Now if you like this video, please be sure to like it and subscribe so you get alerts when I add new videos to my channel. And if you would like the free printable written instructions for this bear Lovey, be sure to head over to my blog at itsocorinne.com, and I'll also add the link below in the description box. Now, this cute little bear Lovey is made out of Bernat baby blanket yarn, which is a super bulky category 6 yarn. I chose the dappled one, and this color is wandering blue. I had to look. But I really like this one because it has several different variations of blue in like an ombre effect, and I know it's hard to tell with Mr. Bear here, but his head is actually a different color than the blanket, and this part here, the dark blue, also came from the same cake that I bought, and I just cut it out from another section, and so the border would be a darker color because I really like that. But as for yardage, I'm not really sure how much yardage I used for him, but I do know that the cake has 220 yards, and I still have this much left after crocheting him, and I'm hoping that I can make another one with him, because if so, then that would be extremely cost effective because it would be 2 bear Loveys from one cake. Now, the other supplies needed to make the cute bear Lovey is some sort of regular category weight 4 yarn for his nose, so that way you can embroidery his nose and his mouth line right here. So I just went with a black cotton because I really like cotton yarn, so I use that for his nose. And then you're going to need some stuffing to stuff his head with so that he is super firm. And then obviously you're going to need crochet hooks. So for this pattern, I actually used 2 different crochet hooks. I used a size K for his head, ears, and arms, and the K crochet hook is 6.5 millimeter. And then I used a size M crochet hook for the granny square blanket, and the M is a 9 millimeter crochet hook. And then you are going to use a stitch marker because we do work in the round for both the blanket and all of his body parts. And then you need a 12 millimeter safety eyes. Now, these are optional. You don't have to put safety eyes on your bear, but I did just because I really like the way that they look. And I'm not a huge fan of embroidering eyes, so I didn't. I used safety eyes. So you can feel free to embroidery his eyes as well as his nose, or use 12 millimeter safety eyes. And then lastly, you need a yarn needle. Yarn needle is to obviously embroidery his nose and possibly his eyes, but also to sew his parts together, and then to finish him off and sew his head to the blanket. So if you're ready to get started, let's go. For the bear head, we will be using the size K hook. To begin the bear head, we are going to add 6 single crochets into a magic ring. And there's 1. You always want to use a stitch marker, especially for this super bulky yarn. Otherwise you'll never remember where it is. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. Let me pull the tail a little bit so I can get a little bit more. 6. Okay, so we're going to put 6 single crochets in the magic ring. Then you're going to pull the tail of the magic ring, pull it tight so we have a tight center, and that is round 1, 6 single crochets. For round 2, we are going to do a single crochet increase into each stitch. A single crochet increase is simply 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So that's 1. Add your stitch marker, 2, and you're just going to do that around. You're going to add 2 single crochets into each stitch of the previous round. At the end of round 2, you will have 12 single crochet stitches. For round 3, we are going to add a single crochet into the first stitch, and then we're going to add a single crochet increase into the next stitch. And your marker, so that was a single, and then we're going to do an increase, and you're going to do that around. You're going to add a single crochet, and then you're going to add a single crochet increase all the way around. At the end of round 3, you will have 18 single crochets. For round 4, we are going to add a single crochet into the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to add a single crochet increase. So single crochet into the first, and single crochet into the next, and then increase into the next stitch. So you're just going to repeat that all the way around. You're going to do single crochet, then increase. At the end of round 4, you will have 24 stitches. For rounds 5 through 8, all you're going to do is single crochet into each stitch of the previous round. So for round 5, 6, 7, and 8, each one will end up with 24 stitches. At the end of round 8, you will have 24 stitches, and as you can see, we are starting to form the head. For round 9, we are going to do a single crochet into the first 2 stitches. So there's the first one, single crochet. Oops. And then single crochet. And then we're going to do a decrease. And then we're going to repeat that all the way around. So single crochet, and then a decrease into the next 2 stitches. And you're going to do that all the way around. At the end of round 9, you will have 18 stitches. For round 10, we are going to put a single crochet into the first stitch. This one, single crochet, and then we are going to do a decrease. So we're going to put a decrease into the next 2 stitches. Okay, make 2 stitches into 1, and then you're going to repeat that all the way around. You're going to do a single crochet, and then you're going to do a decrease. At the end of round 10, you will have 12 stitches. And this is the round where you want to add your safety eyes and stuff your head. You want to add your safety eyes first. You want to add them in between rounds 5 and 6, which, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to add them right here, and you want to add a them where they're a few stitches apart. On the other one that I made, I added it whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 stitches apart because you want to make sure you have enough room to sew his little nose on. So you want to go ahead and add your safety eyes and then stuff the head. Once you have your safety eyes inserted and you have your head stuffed as you want it to be, we can move on to round 11. Now round 11 is the last round of the head, and all we're going to do is we're going to decrease all the way around so we can close up this hole. We don't see the stuffing anymore. So what you're going to do is try to shove the stuffing down, because I hate grabbing that with my hook. So we're going to decrease. So decreasing is just taking 2 stitches and making them 1, and you're going to do that all the way around. and decrease and continue decreasing until you get back to the beginning. Okay, at the end of round 11 you will have a total of 6 stitches because we took the 12 stitches and we decreased, so we ended up with 6. Now if you find that your head is still a little squishy and you want it a little bit firmer, you can probably still shove some stuffing in through this little hole. If not, then all you gotta do is remove your marker, put that aside, and you want to cut a long tail for sewing because we are going to sew this head later onto the blanket. You're going to pull your yarn through. Okay, we're going to move this. You're going to take a yarn needle and using the tail, we are going to sew through our last stitches, and all you're going to do is come up underneath. Some people prefer to only come up under one loop of the stitch. I have mixed feelings about this. I usually just go through 2, and especially with this fluffy yarn, you're not going to really notice the difference between 1 versus 2 in my mind. So what you're going to do is just go around in those 6 stitches and go under it and then pull tight and just keep going. And as you go and you start pulling, you're going to start noticing that that hole that was left is going to start disappearing. And what's really cool about this, and since this is intended for a baby, is once we are finished, we are sewing the arms to the bottom, so the baby will never have access to this hole, ever. So once you go all the way around and you can see that the hole is completely closed, you can just go through it. I like to go through it a couple of times. Like that. And see, you can't even see where it was. But bam. And then what I like to do with this piece of yarn is pull it through to the top or back of his head, I guess. And leave it here. Because this is going to be the yarn that we use to sew it onto the blanket once all of our parts are completed, and I don't want it in the way because we are going to sew the arms here once the arms are completed. So I just like to leave this tail back here waiting for the blanket. So yeah, and then the head is finished. You just set it aside and wait for all your parts to be done. For the bear ears, we will be using the K Crochet Hook. And to begin them, we are just going to insert 6 single crochets into a magic ring. So that's just mine. 1. You want to make sure that you use a stitch marker, especially with this super bulky yarn, because it's hard to tell sometimes where your first stitch is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you want to pull the tail of your magic ring to close it. Okay, and like I said, it's a little hard to tell where your first stitch is. That's why you really want to put a stitch marker on your first stitch. Okay, so that is round 1. You have single crochets around 6 stitches, and for round 2 we are going to do single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then a single crochet increase. So there's the first stitch. So we're going to put a single crochet into the first stitch. And we're going to add a stitch marker. First stitch, and then second stitch, and we're going to do increase into the next stitch. So there's 1, and then there's 2, and then we're going to repeat that. We're going to put a single, single, and then an increase for a total of 8 stitches. So that is round 2. And as you can tell, it's already starting to dome up and start to look like a little ear. So for round 3, we are going to single crochet around. So we're just going to single crochet into each stitch from the previous round. So that's 1. Put my stitch marker. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's that little tail, then 8, and then we are going to slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round, and there you go. There is your little bear ear, and then you can just tuck in that first magic ring tail inside, and you just want to cut this and leave enough for sewing onto the head and pull through, and then there is your first ear. And then all you need to do is repeat that for your second ear. To make the bear arms, we will be using the K hook. And to begin, for round 1, we are just going to make a magic ring, insert 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to pull the magic ring tail tight. Well, maybe. We're going to pull it tight. So that way the magic ring closes up. And then that is round 1, 6 single crochets. For round 2, we are going to single crochet into the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to increase. So we're going to put a single crochet into the first stitch. 1, add your marker, and then a single crochet into the next stitch, and then an increase into the next stitch. And we're going to do that one more time. We're going to do single crochet into the next 2 stitches, single, single, and then we're going to add an increase into the next stitch. Okay, and then at the end of round 2, you have 8 stitches. For round 3, we are going to single crochet into each stitch of the previous round. So you're just going to put a single crochet into each stitch. So we will end up with 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So at the end of round 3, you will have 8 single crochets. For round 4, we are going to single crochet into the first 2 stitches and then single decrease into the next. So we're going to add a single crochet and then a single crochet, and then we're going to do a single crochet decrease, which makes 2 stitches into 1. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that. We're going to do, oops, single crochet, single crochet, and then a decrease. So at the end of round 4, we will be left with 6 stitches. Now I'm just going to tuck in the magic ring tail into the arm. For rounds 5, 6, 7, and 8, you're just going to single crochet into each stitch from the previous round. So round 5 will have 6 stitches, round 6, 7, and 8 will all have 6 stitches. So all you're going to do is add a single crochet into each of the stitches from the previous round. At the end of round 8, all you're going to do to finish the arm is slip stitch into your first stitch, and then you're going to cut off your yarn and pull through, leave a long tail for sewing onto the body. And because the yarn is super fluffy, you do not need to stuff the arm. And then you're just going to repeat the process to create another arm, and then you're going to set it aside. To begin the blanket for the Bear Lovey, we are going to switch over to our size M 9mm crochet hook. And to begin, you're just going to chain 4. Okay, so we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to slip stitch to the furthest chain from the hook. And as you can see where my finger is, that's the circle that we just made. And that is where we are going to be putting our double crochets. So for round 1, you're going to chain 3. And starting here and for the rest of the pattern for the blanket, the chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. And then we are going to add a double crochet into the circle. And then we're going to add another one. And if we count, including the first chain 3, 1, 2, 3, we have 3 double crochets. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to add 3 double crochets into this center hole. So 1, 2, oops, slipped off for me, and 3, and then we are going to chain 2 again, 1, 2, and then we're going to add 3 more double crochets, because what we're doing is we're making the double crochet clusters in the corners of our blanket. Oops. I find that this yarn, since it's so soft, tends to slip off the hook when you're doing it. So now you can see we have the first 3, then we have our chain 2 stitch was our first corner, then we have our 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets. So what we need to do is make the last corner on the right, and we can do that by chain 2, and then we're going to put 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we're going to scoot that over. And now you can see we have 3 corners, so all that's left is to chain 2 and then slip stitch to the chain 3 in the very beginning. And then we have our beginning square. So that is round 1. When you're finished, you will have 3 double crochets clusters and 4 chain 2 spaces. For round 2 of the blanket, you are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that counts as the first double crochet. Now you're going to add 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space to the right of the chain 3 we just made. And I know it feels a little bit uncomfortable going backwards like this, but it works out in the end. So as you can see, so we have our chain 3, double crochet, double crochet. And what we're going to do is add 3 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. That's 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to 1, 2, 3. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to add 3 more into the same chain 2 space that we just used right here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can see we have our 3, 1, 2, 3, our chain 2 space, and then 1, 2, 3. So we're going to repeat this for the next corner. We're going to add 3 double crochet into the chain 2 space, 2, 3, and then we are going to chain 2. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to add 3 more into the same chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to continue. We're going to do the same thing in the next corner. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then 3 into the same chain 2 space. That's 1, 2, 3, and then we come back around to the beginning chain 2 space where we put the chain 3 and then the 2 double crochets. So what we're going to do to finish this is put 3 more double crochets into that beginning chain 2 space. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to chain 2. Oops. 1, 2, and then we're going to slip stitch to the chain 3 that started this round. Okay. And for those that have previously done a granny square, that is exactly what we're making right now. We are making a granny square blanket. And as you can see, after round 2, we have the 4 corners here. These are our original 4 corners, and now we have these 4 corners, and we can move on to round 3. Now for round 3, it's pretty much almost the exact same thing as the previous round, except we're adding a space. So I'll show you. To begin round 3, we're going to chain 3, then we're going to add 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space to the right, just like we did earlier, right here. So we have our chain 3 and then 1, 2 into this first chain 2 space to the right, and then we are going to put 3 double crochets into this space right here, which is between our 3 double crochet clusters that we made in the last round. So we're going to put 3 here. 1, 2, 3. So you have the beginning of the corner over here, and then we have a cluster right here in between these 2 clusters from the previous round. And then for the corner, you're going to do just like we did for the corners in the previous round. We are going to add 3 double crochets into the corner, 2, 3, Then we're going to chain 2 to make the corner. Then we're going to put 3 more into the same chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3. So there we have our corner. And then the space between the 2 double crochet clusters from the previous round, we're going to put 3 double crochets here. Oops. 1, 2, 3. And then you're just going to repeat that for the other 2 sides. So do the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet here, and then 3 double crochet here, and then we do a corner here, which is the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then 3 double crochets here. When you get back around to the first chain 2 space where we put the chain 3 and the 2 double crochet here, you're going to insert 3 double crochet into that chain 2 space. So 1, 2, 3, and you're going to chain 2, and this is going to make the last corner of your blanket. And then you're going to slip stitch into the top of your chain 3, and then round 3 is finished. You can see, now you can see your corners here, and then your corner here, and then round 3 is done. To begin round 4, we are going to chain 3, and then just like the previous rounds, we're going to add 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space to the right of the chain 3. That's 1, 2, and this is totally optional, but I like to mark where I started, especially when I get this far, because I feel at one point I have trouble finding out where I started, and then it gets confusing. Okay, so just like in the previous round, we are going to put 3 double crochets into the space between our double crochet clusters from the previous round. But instead of just 1 space, now in this round, there's 2 spaces. So we are going to put 3 double crochet into this space and 3 double crochet into this space. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to do a corner. So we're going to put 3 double crochets. Oops. 1, 2, 3. And then we are going to chain 2. 1, 2. And then we're going to put 3 more into the same chain 2 space to create the corners, just like we have in the previous rounds. So that's 1, 2. And then just like on the other side that we just did, we are going to add 3 double crochet into this space here and this space here. 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we are going to repeat this process for the other 2 sides. So you're going to put a corner here, which is the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Then we put 3 double crochet in this space, 3 double crochet in this space, and then we would repeat that process for this side as well. You do the corner, and then 3 double crochet in this space, and 3 double crochet in this space. When you get back to the first chain 2 space, just like in previous rounds, we are going to add 3 double crochet into it. It's 2, 3, and then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to slip stitch to your first chain 3 of the round. Okay, and then round 4 will be finished. Okay, there we go. To begin round 5, we are going to chain 3, and then we are going to put 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space to the right of the chain 3, just like we did in previous round. And as you will notice as we go, this is the same pattern, it's just modified a little bit for each round. So we have our 3, our beginning 3 cluster. And then just like in the previous round, we are going to add 3 double crochets into the space between our double crochet clusters. And in the previous round, we only had 2 spaces. So for this round, round 5, we will have 3 spaces. And then in the coming rounds, round 6 will have 4 spaces, and then round 7 will have 5 spaces. But pretty much we are doing the exact same thing for the next rounds. So you're going to put 3 into a space, and you're going to put 3 double crochet into the next space, and what we are actually doing is creating the spaces for the next round by adding these double crochet clusters, like as you can see. So for the next round, there's a space here, and there's a space here, and that's what we're creating right now. Two, 3, and then when you get to a corner, which is where the chain 2 space is, we are going to add 3 double crochet. Oops. 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to chain 2 to create the corner. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 3 double crochet into the same chain 2 space. That's 1, 2, 3, and then we've created the corner. And then we are going to add 3 double crochets into the next space between our clusters. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you're just going to repeat this all the way around. When you get to a corner, like here where the chain 2 spaces, you're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then you're just going to put 3 double crochet in this space, and this space, and then you're going to do the corner here, and then do the 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet until you get back to the first chain 2 space. When you get back to the first chain 2 space of round 5, you're going to insert 3 double crochet, and then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, oops, 2, and then you're going to slip stitch it to the chain 3. And then round 5 is complete. For round 6, you're going to chain 3, and you're going to put 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space to the right. Okay, and then I like to add my marker, and then we are going to add 3 double crochets into these spaces just like we did in previous rounds. And like I said, for round 6, you will have 4 spaces to fill with 3 double crochets each. And then when you get to the corners, just like in previous rounds, we are going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochet. And we're going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to the first chain 2 space. So 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, and then a corner, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, all in the same corner. And we'll repeat that all the way around. When you get back around to the first chain 2 in round 6, we are going to add 3 double crochets, 2, 3, we're going to chain 2, then we're going to slip stitch to the first chain 3. And you will have round 6 complete. We move on to the final round. Okay, there we go. For round 7 of the Bear Lovey blanket, we are going to do exactly what we did in previous rounds. We are going to chain 3. We're going to add 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space to the right of the chain 3. If my yarn will work with me here. Okay. Well, maybe not. So we've added 2 double crochets in our chain 3 here. I'm just going to add my little marker. Doesn't have to be precise. I just like to know where the beginning is. And then, like I said in the previous rounds, now we have 5 spaces in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are going to add 3 double crochets to each space in between the double crochet clusters. And then when we get to the corner, just like in the previous rounds, we are going to add 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets. And you're going to complete that pattern all the way around. 3 double crochets for the spaces, and then 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets for the corners. And do that all the way around until you get to the first chain 2 space of the round. When you get back to the first chain 2 space, you're going to add 3 double crochets, and then a chain 2, 2 double crochet, 3, and then you're going to chain 2. Then you're going to slip stitch it to your first chain 3 stitch. Now, if you like the way that the blanket looks as is, then you're finished. Yay you! But if you would like to add a simple single crochet border, I can show you how to do that. So there are 2 ways to do this. Now, if you just wanted to keep going where you are, that's fine. You could just start single crocheting into each stitch here, or if you wanted to change color, you would just cut this, pull through, you know, sew in your end, and then start a different color. This is from the same cake. I just cut a lighter color from the other side of the cake, the yarn cake. And all you gotta do is slip stitch this into, I like to start in a corner, and then we are going to add 3 single crochets into the corner, and then a single crochet into each stitch. So that's 2, 3. So, and if you didn't want to change color, you could seriously just do that from your tail of the blanket that you just finished, like if you don't want a different color. But I wanted some contrast, and I'm hoping I have enough of the light to go all the way around. We shall see. So now we have the 3 single crochet in the corner to create the corner, and then you see how we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So you want to go into the first stitch. So that's 1 double crochet. Oops. Then you're going to go into the next double crochet from the previous round, and then into the next one. And as you can see, we are creating a nice single crochet border here. And for each space, you're just going to add 1 single crochet into each space. Okay, so you're going to go around, put a single crochet into each double crochet from previous round, put 1 into each space, and then when you get to a corner, you add 3 single crochet, and you just do that all the way around. After you have finished your single crochet border and you get back to the first single crochet, all you're going to do is slip stitch your last single crochet to the first single crochet, and your border is complete. And I am happy to say I had just enough of the light to go all the way around the blanket. I was worried for a minute, but I made it all the way around. So now this super cute granny square blanket is complete and it is ready for its bare parts to be sewn on. Yay! Once you have all of your parts crocheted, now is the time to go and assemble them. And the first step in that is to make a embroidery nose for Mr. Bear. So what you want to do is you want to find the center between the 2 eyes, and you want it to be in the row underneath the eye. See, here's the eye, here's the next row, or round, I'm sorry. And then you need to figure out where you want your nose to be. So I'm going to do my nose from this corner to this corner. So what you're going to do is just insert it into the top and then bring it through the hole you're already in, and then pull tight. And then you just keep going until you reach the next side, which mine was right here. So I'm just going to keep going beside it. You just go a little bit beside it each time. And if you don't like the way that the nose looks once you've gone over it once, you can go back and fill in like naked spots, because sometimes the bulkier yarn will come through. Just gonna keep doing that and try not to poke your yarn when you come through the bottom hole. See, I don't like where that went. I'll just move it over. Okay, and then for the nose, I am just using regular, oh Lord, that was bad, category 4 weight cotton yarn. This is the yarn that I use in all of my amigurumi, so I have it left over from the other projects. And obviously you could do any color you want. I just went with black because I like how it matches the eyes. Come on. I like the contrast of the black against the blue. If I had had a really dark blue, I would have used that, but I do not. And then you're just going to continue until you get to the other side. So you're just going to keep going until you reach the other stitch where is your end marker. Once you finish embroidering his nose, you're just going to bring the yarn out through that center bottom hole, and then you're going to go 2 rows down, and then I'm just going to pull it out here so you can see, and make his little mouth line. And then you can go over that a couple of times. I'm gonna have to switch out thread or yarn because I ran out. But so that's pretty much it. You just go over his mouth line a couple of times to make it more full, just like his nose. And then his little face is ready for his ears. Once you have his nose embroidered, we can start sewing the parts onto the bear's head. Now, I like to put the ears on round 2. They start them, so here's 1, and then there's 2. So I would put this little ear right here. And it is super handy to have straight pins, so you can straight pin it. I know with the fluffier yarn, it gets a little bit hard because the straight pins sometimes disappear. So make sure you don't poke yourself while you're doing this. So I like to pin my ears so I can see if they're even on the head, and like, does it look good front to back, side to side? So I'm just going to pin these real quick. And then you're going to take the next ear, put it on round 2. See, starting on round 2. And if you don't like putting the ears on round 2, you can put them anywhere you want. This is your project, and if you feel like you want to put one ear a little bit askew, I say go for it. So here is, let's see if we can get that down. So there's the ears pinned right there, and I feel like they're pretty good place, like in the center of the head. You do not want to stuff the ears or the arms. So both the ears and the arms are not going to be stuffed, which is going to be great because it's less stuffing that the baby can get to, if that's a possibility. You only have the stuffing in the head. And the other thing is the bulky yarn, since it's so fluffy already, you can't even tell that they're not stuffed. So once you have your ears pinned, we can pin the arms on, and the arms just go right underneath the head. So we are going to sew these on right in the center of the head. Again, I know it's hard to tell that I'm pinning these because the fluffy yarn doesn't like to keep the pins in. So then the other arm, and obviously I do this one at a time. I just want to show y'all the placement. Okay, so we're going to put the other arm here. And you want to just double check that the arms look symmetrical outside of his body. Like, are they hanging over the same amount? I mean, that looks pretty good. And you want to sew each body part on with the long tail that we left for that body part. So remember, we have, this is the ear tail, and remember with the head, we left this really long tail out the back of his head. When we finish the head, do not touch this while you're sewing on his parts, because this is going to be the tail that we use to sew it onto the blanket. So you just want to go ahead and take each part's tail and sew it onto his head. Once you have your ears and your arms sewn onto the bear head, you're going to take the tail that we had left back here for sewing onto the blanket, and you're going to run it in between the arms. And that is going to, well, that's going to be the tail that sews onto the blanket. And then you're going to take your blanket and you're going to find the center. Now, I know by counting already that this is my center 4 square where we started. This is where the bear head is going to be sewn. Now you can find the center by easily folding it into 4s, and then there's your center, or counting the rounds that we did. We did 7 rounds. If you count up the clusters from the corner into the center, it will equal 7. Now you do want to place your blanket at a diagonal, so that way the diamond is facing forward, because this is going to be the front of his little nightgown. And so you want to sew the head in that direction of one of the points, and you want to pick out the point that, well, looks the best, because he's going to be in the front and it's going to be front and center, so you're not going to miss it. So and as you sew him on, you want to make sure that the bear head is constantly facing that diamond, because you don't want it to get askew as you're sewing him on. And to sew him on, I found it the easiest just to run your tail through the center hole of your original 4 cluster. Pull that through. See how it's going through the center? And then push it over, and you can add some pins here as you're sewing, but let me forewarn you that the pins don't like to stay. So I found it easier just to hold the head and the blanket in my hand, and then you just want to stitch in these 4 squares to the head, so that way it securely attaches the blanket to the head. If I could, I don't have enough arms to show you. So when we're finished, when we come back, he's going to be sewn like this, and you just want to stay inside of that center 4 square, wherever it went. Where did it go? Oh, right here. I lost it already. So you want to make sure that all your stitches stay in this range, so that way you're not pulling the blanket from another area. And once you sew the blanket onto the bear's head, this bear lovey is complete. You just want to sew in your ends of your yarn, secure your ends, and you are done. And guys, because you're using a super bulky yarn for this project, it works up super fast. Like, I am serious. Like, I'm talking watch a movie and crochet, and in a couple of hours you will have this super cute bear lovey to give. I love giving these at baby showers. I have an overwhelming positive response to this gift. And the added bonus is I get to crochet with super soft and super fluffy yarn the entire time. So as always, if you've liked this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that way you get updates on my new videos. And be sure to check out my blog at itssocorinny.com for other crochet and sewing tutorials and free patterns. So until next time, bye! Bye!